ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you?
It's time to flip a coin and find out.
Well, we need to know what we're calling for here.
We're calling it to see who's got the best sports knowledge here on the coin flip with Martin Kelly
and Jacob
The
Zimmerman.
Los Angeles Lakers have won the inaugural 2023-2024 in-season tournament. Jacob Zimmerman, Martin Kelly here on the Coin Flip podcast. We're going to answer some questions today around this tournament, particularly dealing with things like, is this tournament rigged? Is this tournament going to mean anything for anybody? And what were our overall thoughts on the in-season tournament as a whole, as the NBA is trying to try something out mid-season to kind of keep NBA fans awake? Martin Kelly, how's it going on? Give me your brief initial thoughts on how the tournament went as a whole, and we'll kind of move forward here through the list and really break it down.
Well, I'm hanging great here in Salt Lake City, Utah. Got about 9 days before I go home for Christmas, to go back to Chicago. So I'm enjoying every last day of work and making money and making sure that I got money for Christmas. To the in-season tournament, Jacob, one answer I have is, for me personally, this was boring. And I hate to put it that blunt, but this was boring to me. And the reason why I say boring is, I'm not a huge international soccer fan. I follow as much as I can. I like the Bundesliga, which is the German league. I like the UEFA Champions League, which is the entire European system. And I like the English Premier League and La Liga. La Liga is the Spanish, and the Premier League is the British United Kingdom system. The reason why I bring that up is the Champions League is an all-European international circuit bracket to invite winners from each European club, the French, the British, the Germans, etc., etc., etc. The reason why I bring that up is because it's all year round. They do games in November, games in December, games in February, games in March, and they have a winner by May. It's an all-season, like in-season tournament, just like what we experienced with the NBA. I did not like the fact that the NBA rushed this. I didn't like the fact that the NBA rushed this all before Christmas. I would have enjoyed if we had games in November, December, and we crowned a champion between February and April around the All-Star break. They could have extended this a little bit more. They could have made it a little bit more interesting. Instead, this was like 3 weeks of a rushed in-season tournament. Half the teams were still green and getting ready for the season. And apparently, you know what? I'll tip my cap to the Los Angeles Lakers. They were legit the only team that was really prepared for this in-season tournament. I give them credit for that. So, with all that being said, I'll hand it back to you. But I found it boring. I found that they could have extended this a little bit more and done a little bit more with this. The courts were okay. The jerseys were okay. I just felt like the NBA rushed this too fast and forced this too fast. I think there should have been some better planning and a better name. But at the end of the day, the Lakers are the winners, and we'll see what next season brings with another in-season tournament.
Well, Martin, I think I agree with you that they had the conclusion of the NBA in-season tournament too soon. I would have liked to see it end on Christmas Day, because that's kind of a famous day for NBA basketball. You know, everybody turns to the TV kind of like they do for football and Thanksgiving. Martin, you kind of mentioned something, though, I heavily disagree with there. Kind of you snuck it in at the end, saying the Lakers were the only team prepared for the in-season tournament. Martin, it's not like the higher-ups in the NBA sent the Lakers a DM in the offseason saying, hey, there's going to be this tournament, and we're not letting any other teams know. Only you're going to know, and only you're going to try. And somehow, everybody is saying that this is rigged for LeBron James. No, LeBron James just beat everybody. I mean, other teams may have not given the amount of effort that they did, but we can say one thing for sure, that the Indiana Pacers wanted to win that in-season tournament just as much as the Los Angeles Lakers did. I mean, no doubt. You see how much their bench was getting into it in the quarterfinals. They absolutely wanted to win that thing. And I mean, you're going to sit here and tell me that, Damian Lillard didn't want to win that? Damian Lillard's never won, much of anything in the postseason. I know it's not the postseason yet, but the point is, Martin, is that you have to build credibility to it. Now, the Lakers winning it, the in-season tournament, as for this season, was kind of the last thing the NBA would actually want, Martin, because if the Lakers win it, then everybody delegitimizes it. If any other team wins it, it becomes more legitimized. But in a couple years, it will not be a problem, Martin. I think it will set in stone with some of these teams, and they'll get more used to it. Kind of a quick debate here on if it was going to be a banner or not. I'm not sure if it matters. I don't think LeBron and AD are the ones deciding, if a freaking banner gets hung in a building that's owned by billionaires 10 times richer than he is. So I don't know if the banner gets hung or not. Point is, Martin, I think it was interesting. I think they could have done it better. Yes, I agree with you. But Martin, they answered all the calls that you would want to hear, that everybody, all the old players, all the 90s hardcore fans have been saying. Martin, here's what they've been saying. We want more physical basketball. The in-season tournament brought more physical basketball, and the Lakers are the most physical team in the NBA. We want defense. The Lakers are the best defensive team in the NBA. The regular season is lazy. Well, the Lakers just won the first inaugural NBA in-season tournament. So you cannot blame LeBron and the Lakers. They're not the team to blame. And I think there's a lot of double standards going on with this in-season tournament.
I think to touch on that, I think you're wrong and I think you're right. I think you're right on the sense with the Lakers being the final team at the very end to win it all. I understand that in the sense that it doesn't truly legitimize this championship, in the sense that, it was just made for LeBron James' legacy. They gave him the tournament MVP. They gave his team the championship. If you ask me, I understand it was a tournament championship, so based on every game, but Anthony Davis should have won that MVP. It shouldn't have been a fan vote, because it was a fan vote, and the fans voted for LeBron James to win.
No, Martin,
it should have been a performance win.
It was for the entire in-season tournament. All 8 or 7, 8
I understand that. I understand that, but still, I think it should have been performance-based. I think Anthony Davis should have won the in-season tournament, because in the last game, if Anthony Davis doesn't have a 40-20 game, we're not having this discussion, because LeBron James was sitting on the bench with 2 fouls early in the first half. I think people would have called this illegitimate if the Warriors would have won, if the Suns would have won, if the Mavericks would have won. I think it would have been any of the top teams. If the Bucks would have won, if the Celtics would have won, if the Nuggets would have won, it would have been any of those top legitimate teams. They would have not illegitimized this championship. And I get we're going down the LeBron James route, and that obviously leads to the LeBron James, Michael Jordan GOAT conversation. I want to stick just with the basketball, in the sense that there was good basketball in this tournament. I agree with you. All right. It was nice to see some of the underdog teams that are not supposed to be projected high seed teams come playoff time actually take advantage of this. The Pelicans were in the quarterfinals. The Kings are one of the top teams in this tournament. The Indiana Pacers went undefeated all the way to the semifinals. You saw a good amount of teams that are not supposed to be this good step up and be good. I applaud those teams right then and there. Again, I just felt like it was a little rushed, a little boring. It's in the middle of the beginning of the season. People are still trying to get their legs under them. You're playing these before Thanksgiving, and you're playing them afterwards. I just feel like if you would have gave teams actually legitimate time to prepare for this and have a championship game in January or February, I think we could have seen better basketball. I think we could have seen better coaching. I think we could have seen some better scenarios. And final point before I give it back to you, if this was all rigged, they would have had a better opponent in the finals than Indiana. It would have either been Milwaukee, it would have either been Dallas, it would have either been Denver, it would have either been the Clippers, it would have been some of these teams that the NBA wants to push in front of you. Instead, it was the Pacers. Instead, it was the Pelicans the game before in the semifinals for the Lakers to get to the championship game. You fed them basically average bottom feeder teams that we've been looking at for the last few years to get to the championship? No way. That's too easy. They would have made it, if this was more rigged, legitimately the Bucks would have been there at the finals. Like, who doesn't want to see Giannis versus LeBron for an in-season tournament? Who doesn't want to see AD versus Dame? That would have made it rigged. But they threw the Pacers and the Pelicans in the last two games. I don't see the rig. I just see the fact that the Lakers saw who they were facing and said, we can beat those teams. We can match up well against those teams. They got a break that they didn't face some of the top teams in the NBA.
I don't think you can say they got a break, Martin. I don't think you can say that because Indiana beat Boston. They beat Milwaukee. They did great in the in-season tournament. I think the reality here is that you got to wake up to the fact that the Indiana Pacers are a completely different team than we expected going into the season. If we're still calling the Pacers bottom feeders, we need to start watching basketball in 2023 because Tyrese Halliburton has been one of the 5 best NBA players so far this season. If you just look at this season, without a doubt, he's been amazing. Martin, I didn't even have Tyrese Halliburton in my top 25 players. I did in the offseason. He's completely proved me wrong. I didn't have Indiana. Neither of us had Indiana, I believe, making the NBA playoffs when we did our, preseason 1 through 10 predictions. The Indiana Pacers are the most improved team in the NBA, and I think that showed in the in-season tournament. And I'm glad we can, kind of highlight them. Martin, you mentioned LeBron was on the bench early. I can remember 3 years ago, from the beginning, even longer, since when I first did our podcast, Martin. And one of your main takes about the Lakers was that Anthony Davis, it's time for him to take the keys. LeBron had 24 and 11 on good efficiency, took the back seat like you wanted him to, and yet he's getting chewed out. I don't know if I like that. But let me go back to my notes here, Martin, and read through some other questions that we wanted to answer here. Overall, about the in-season tournament, Martin, I think it got buy-in. I think it's kind of a reflection on NBA fans for me, Martin, because I'm a big follower on social media. I'm constantly checking comment sections to see what the main public opinions are on almost every headline. NBA fans are more spoiled than any other major league, sport I can think of. It's that bad. Our expectations are high. We have big superstars. The league is run by, guys who love being in the media, and the fans, love the drama. That's what sets the NBA apart, in my opinion, from the NFL. It's the player drama. It's the headlines. It's the debates that people get into about the sport that are unmatched compared to the NFL, I believe. Martin, I think NBA fans are I don't know, more classless than ever before. I think we need to kind of look in the mirror here and say, hey, the NBA was hearing what everybody was saying, all the negative criticism, the regular season's irrelevant, there's no defense, yada yada, and they at least tried, right? We know other huge sporting brands that don't listen to their fans at all. So I'm at least going to give the NBA an applause for at least trying something out, even if it didn't go, as well as you wanted it to in the first year. Even if you give it, a 5 or 6 out of a scale of 10, I think NBA fans kind of need to look at what's going on and just kind of appreciate what we're getting in the moment now before it kind of goes back into January, February, and teams aren't really trying as hard. So that's another point I wanted to make on that.
I can see your point, and I don't think it's just NBA fans. I think sports fans in general are spoiled. I mean, we watch the very best players play every night, and we want them to succeed like the greats before them. Obviously, if I had to make examples, LeBron James in the NBA, we want him to put up Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant godlike numbers every night, regardless if he's hurt or not. Connor Bedard, Connor McDavid in the NHL. We want him putting up Wayne Gretzky, Alex Ovechkin type numbers, scoring 50, 60, 70 goals a season. In baseball, obviously Shohei. We want to watch Shohei Ohtani smash Barry Bonds' home run record and other exciting numbers like that and see some of those type of things happen. I agree. NBA fans can be a little on that side, and I get it. The era of the 90s and the 2000s still lives strong in a lot of NBA fans, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. The 80s, it's a hard line to walk, Jacob, because at the end of the day, if we make the game so in favor of offenses and make efficient shooting and 3-point shooting and possessions matter more than just close games, I mean you're gonna dissipate in something. I mean, we can't have. I don't think the NBA doesn't want to see an 86 to 76 score. I don't think they hate that, but I think fans want to see 120, 130 points. It's just exciting to see that type of NBA. You want to see them jack up threes. I mean, for the last within 10 years until 2025, Jacob, within that time frame of now, just in 8 years, I mean, Steph Curry went from being an injured point guard to being the most legendary 3-point shooter of all time. And, I mean, the fact is he made everyone look at a 3-point line and say, hey, we got to jack him up all the time. Ray Allen was doing that before that, but it was in spot moments. It was in efficient moments. Now it's just jack up threes all day long and see whether they go in or out. I do agree. Maybe NBA fans are a little spoiled, but it's such a rope to walk in the sense that what do you allow? Do we allow hand checks? Do we allow body checks? Do we allow toughness inside the paint? I mean, there's just so much to the game that has changed. So, I mean, we no longer shoot a peach basketball into a wooden hoop. We shoot a legitimate basketball into a legitimate NBA hoop that has perfection written all over it for the game. So, how far we walk this tightrope, I don't know. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, I think the NBA in the playoffs, the last couple of seasons, and we may have saw a few flashes in the in-season tournament. I think the narrative that the NBA has lost all its physicality is wrong. I think it's the style of game that's changed. You had a lot more, shoulder-to-shoulder bumping in the 90s because there was not any floor spacing. There weren't the shooters on the court to do so. So it was a tighter floor. When you didn't go ISO on one wing and have everybody else, be forced to stand across the midline. We didn't go into that cheap offense. Yes, it was very crowded and a very physical game. But Martin, I think the physicality is underrated in today's NBA. And it's not the players who are being soft. It's the officials. It's the officials. Don't be mad at the players. Criticize Adam Silver and the officiating because they're not letting the contact fly. That's why the NBA players are trying to do all this, flopping and grabbing and all this stuff. It's because I don't like how the officials are calling games. Martin,
and to cut you off, I apologize. To add more to that, I'm glad you brought that up because to add to that, I did Utah women's basketball. They played South Carolina, #1 team in the country. College basketball, I know college NBA different, but if you could believe it, Jacob, I've never seen this stat in my entire life. There was 20 between both teams, illegal screens and offensive fouls. This one ref yesterday kept calling illegal screen, illegal block, illegal screen, illegal block, illegal screen, block, screen for an entire game. 3 players fouled out of yesterday's game due to offensive fouls on their own side of the court. Forget about defensive holding and screening and all that stuff that goes on in the middle. 3 players fouled out because of that. 3 big forwards from that game, from a big game between 2 top 25 teams, had 20 offensive foul calls from officiating. How do you call 20 offensive fouls in a college women's basketball? We don't see those type of numbers in the NBA, but we've seen those type of ridiculousness in the NBA. Officiating in basketball, period, has gotten a little out of control because of all this open spacing. And I hate to go a little tiny rant on that, but it adds to that. The fact is, yes, the officiating are taking the physicality out of the game, and I think that's a wrong direction as well.
Yeah, officiating needs to improve across every level. Let's get these refs some glasses. Back to kind of the future now, going forward here. Martin, I think what people might be sleeping on with the in-season tournament is that it gave the Lakers some confidence, right? While everybody's kind of sitting back here, while all these top comments are, bashing LeBron for, XYZ, whatever they can make up. I think this gave LeBron and AD some confidence, especially a guy like Anthony Davis, right? A guy who's been meaning to take the mantle. While I don't know if he's ever going to quite, take it away from Braun, maybe they can both have their hand on it together. AD's legit. Anytime your team scores 86 points in the paint, they did that against the Pelicans, not the Pacers, but I mean, there were some fantastic performances in this in-season tournament from LA that I think give me some even more hope going forward. And Martin, it just become clear to me over my life that there's never been a more surefire bet in our sports lifetime than LeBron James in a winner take all type of game. And Martin, I benefited financially from that because I 100% knew what was going to happen when the stakes matter the most. Because we've seen it all our life. But Martin, so I think that shows that LeBron can still be that guy. AD can still be that guy when it matters. Now, you stretch one game out into a 7-game series. I'm thinking about the Denver Nuggets in particular. I would like to see us go snag an Alex Caruso from your Chicago Bulls because they need to blow it up. I would like to see us, find a potentially a better fit, or not only know if a better fit, just a better player outright than maybe D'Angelo Russell. We can get him switched out. And then, if it's possible, to upgrade the backup center spot. Jackson Hayes has had some nice flashes. Christian Wood, I think he's best on a small market team where he can get a lot of shots, be the guy. He's played actually really well for LA and some kind of interesting lineups from Darvin Ham with him and AD out there. But I think if we could flip those guys into a better backup center, I really like the Lakers' chances going forward. But Martin, is there any team, maybe other than the Lakers, that you saw in this in season tournament, and you think you have some more positive thoughts on them going forward after this?
Not really. I mean, most of the teams that we saw in the in-season tournament that succeeded were, I mean, some of the top teams were always the better teams in this in-season tournament and improved. The Lakers were at the end. I'm not sure of it. It didn't really show me anything. It was just, an in-season tournament. I'm not going to put too much into it this year. Yeah, besides the Lakers, besides the Pacers, two impressive teams. The Bucks were all right. The Celtics were all right. Not really much there. There's not enough legitimately enough of effort that I have to put into it just this moment. To your Lakers, just to touch on them very lastly, we're not trading you Alex Caruso. Yes, I would like the Bulls to blow it up, but I'm not giving you Caruso for just you dumping some bench players onto my roster to say, hey, here's a bench player, give me my guy back and we can go win a title. That's not happening. I'm not helping the Lakers win 18 titles. I don't want them to win another title if you ask me, just based on the fact that I would just like the Lakers to go away as a brand, not just LeBron. Because you don't have any picks and you don't have any players I want. If you talked a little bit about Denver and on the other teams in the Western Conference, if it was to match up today, the playoffs were to start today, it's Denver and Los Angeles in the first round, and I'll still take Denver. And I still like Denver's size. I still like Denver scoring. I think it's better than the Lakers. AD could have his moments. He's proven me wrong. He's proven me wrong over the last couple of years that I should take away the fact that AD can't handle the pressure, because he can handle the pressure. It's just, can his body handle enough pressure to stay healthy? That's the real question left. I think so. He could. But again, I can't put enough legitimateness into this in-season tournament, because the Lakers were the final team. It wasn't the Magic. It wasn't the Pacers. It wasn't the Cavs. It wasn't some, surprising upcoming team. It was an expected team to be at the very end of it, and we expected them to win. There was no way anybody was going to pick the Pacers over the Lakers, and that's the result we got.
Martin, I think you're kind of admitting that there is this double standard with the Los Angeles Lakers.
I don't want to say double standard. I don't want to say that. I'm just saying the fact is, it was the Lakers. That's my point. I'm not trying to say it's rigged. I don't think it was rigged at all. Like I said before, I just think the Lakers took advantage of what everyone else didn't take advantage of. Everyone else went into this green and not understanding and not taking it seriously, and the Lakers did. I have to tip my cap on them for taking this.
How can you say that? What other than the Lakers beating everybody as your evidence? What evidence are you taking to say that? I mean, didn't the Boston
because they
Celtics,
won it all, because
for crying out loud, start fouling Andre Drummond when they were up 30 to get as many points for the in-season tournament, standings as they possibly could? I think a lot of teams were doing, as much as they could to win this. I think the narrative that these teams somehow didn't get the memo, before the Los Angeles Lakers did, is false. I think the claim that this suits LeBron James very well is fair and it's accurate, but that's a testament to LeBron James. That's not the NBA handing the Lakers an NBA cup. They had to go out and earn it. I think a lot of this is stemming from the controversy with the Suns game. Martin, we've swept the Suns. We're 3-0 against the Suns so far. I have LeBron behind KD in the player rankings. I think 8 and 7 or 7 and 6 out of respect. I would flip those now. LeBron's outplayed KD this year. I had Anthony Davis controversially number 4 in my player rankings, and he's done nothing but back that up. So, Halliburton can fit in there somewhere. They had a first team, all in-season tournament that just came out. LeBron, AD, KD, Giannis, Halliburton. So Giannis and KD were sure trying, but they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm not falling for the double standard take, and it's not that I'm staying away from it or trying to dissipate that. It's just that I think out of everybody who went into this tournament, I legitimately think it just through and through, the Lakers were the only team that took it truly seriously. The Lakers put everything they had into this, and that is that's a compliment, not a knock on LeBron James. That's a compliment to LeBron James, saying, hey, he got his team mentally ready for something in the middle of the season that for a lot of top players doesn't mean anything, because they don't need the $500,000. LeBron and AD don't need that money. They were fighting for their guys at the bottom of the bench that just doubled their own salaries. I mean, guys were making $500,000-$600,000 are now going to make a whopping $1.2 million in a season. Congratulations to those kids. I am tipping my cap to those guys. Everyone else besides the Pacers felt like it was taking it seriously, and it was just another game. And at the end of the day, I think that's how most teams took away from it. It was just another game. For the Lakers, for the Pacers, it was all or nothing. And I have to give them a compliment for that, because that makes this a little bit more legitimate of a tournament, because these teams took it seriously, because these teams fought all the way to get to the end. We didn't have a team with 3 losses make it to the finals. We had 2 undefeated teams compete for a championship. There wasn't anything that said, well, this team was not a top team and this team was a top team. It wasn't like a finals where you have a 1 versus 8 seed. This was 2 top seeds versus each other for the championship. That is a compliment to both of those squads for getting through this tournament unscathed and making it all the way to the very final. I just wish everyone else would have treated it like that. And I still think that because it got rushed, a lot of teams didn't treat it like that. If it was planned out a little bit more throughout the entire season, I think they would have taken it seriously. That's my only thing.
Last thing I want to mention before we get on out of here, Martin, Austin Reeves had a rough month in November. Did not start out the season he wanted to. Perhaps had as many miles in the off season, or from about the end of the regular season in the NBA last year to the start of the regular season this year, as anybody. But in December, Martin, he's back to his 50, 39, 92 splits, in small sample size, but he played great in the in-season tournament, the IST, and I think he's going to continue to be one of those X factors down the stretch for the Los Angeles Lakers. Having that third guy who's on, having that one shooter on who's huge. Martin, another thing you can point to as to why this isn't rigged, the Lakers shooting from three. Martin, they made 2 3-pointers the entire game in the in-season tournament championship against the Pacers. They made just 2 threes the whole game. The Pacers didn't shoot that well either. There was this video I watched from, I think it's called Thinking Basketball. I think that's the channel, breaking it down. I've also watched a lot of Hoops Tonight, kind of breaking down what the Lakers defense does, how they're able to switch, how they're able to kind of funnel things to Anthony Davis, how they're able to play Anthony Davis, up high to guard the pick and roll, down low in the post as well when you need them. The Lakers are looking in pretty good shape. I think that's what my conclusion on this is going to be. Martin, as for what's coming up with the Coin Flip podcast, we have, of course, the NFL. I think it's week 15 next week already. Predictions for those, reaction to the previous week, a crazy week 14 slate. And we are going to do, at some point later this month, we're going to do that NBA video that we talked about doing, the part 2 to the 10 most interesting teams in the NBA. So we'll find a way to talk about the Pacers more, talk about some other squads that we haven't really mentioned here on the CFP. And then we're going to talk some college football again soon, closer to when the bowl games around New Year's time are happening. And Jaden Daniels won the Heisman over Michael Penix Jr., so some controversy there. And then, Martin, I think you might do a video on Shohei Ohtani or something about that, but a lot of good stuff coming from the channel.
Absolutely, a lot of stuff coming up, so click the subscribe button. We're trying to push more content towards the end of the year. We'll try to keep our NFL picks season weekly picks as we get into the Christmas time. Obviously, we're spending time with family, so that matters too. But yeah, we're going to push out as much content as we want. I'm coming out with a video on Ohtani. $700 million is a lot of money to play and to hit and to pitch. You bring up the college football. We'll do that. Penix and Jaden Daniels, I have an opinion about who I really think should have won that Heisman, and that's going to be a fun conversation we'll do. NFL, what a heck of a week. I don't think anybody would have saw or predicted some of the results that we had or some of the storylines that we got from this week. So we're going to dive into all that this week and much more next week. And yeah, can subscribe and watch the channel and see what we drop.
That's the Coin Flip Podcast. See you guys later.
Peace.